It was a report that came out from the United States Department of Education just a few years ago that showed black boys in kindergarten were being suspended and expelled from school at rates higher than white boys in high school. America is through doing anything for black folks. Although they never did, they at least gave the impression of doing something. Now they are blatantly and unapologetically making it clear, as you've seen with President Biden's behavior, as you've seen with President Trump's behavior, as you've seen with President Obama's behavior. America is through acting like it cares about black people. One of the reasons globally people do not feel sympathy for us is we have the money to fix our own problem.
Dr. Umar, what did you learn throughout the process of building your school?
What did I learn? That everything I thought about black folks were true. And what I mean by that is we had a lot of trouble finding dependable black contractors with integrity, responsibility. We were taken advantage of, robbed, stolen from, let down, disappointed, betrayed, everything you could think of. We went through it. So it was just a confirmation of why we need the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, the attitude of black masculinity towards our responsibility of solving our own problems and raising up our community. It's a very big barrier to black progress in this country. What else did I learn? I learned that if black people trust you, if they believe in you, they will support you. The Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy is the first school in American history built by the African diaspora. No school ever in this country's history has been built, financed, renovated off of donations from African people from every single continent in the world. And so we've achieved history in doing this. And so although I had to learn the bittersweet lesson that a lot of black men are not worth their weight in salt, I also learned that black people are willing to support and sustain a serious movement if they really believe in the person leading that initiative.
How did you get people to believe in that initiative if you feel like a lot of black men don't really step up to the plate?
Well, it was the contractors who didn't do right by us. They don't represent the sum total of black men. But in terms of black contractors, I think it's critical that they were the disappointing party. Because if we're going to build Black Wall Street, if we're going to build our own institutions, we need responsible black contractors to do that. I mean, these are the builders. These are the trained, licensed builders. So if we're going to have our own schools, our own banks, our own hospitals, supermarkets, distribution networks, and manufacturing centers, we need brothers who are trained and licensed and credentialed in those areas to carry that work forward. And the fact that we were paying them market rate fees for their service and they still just could not deliver their work because they had to report to a black person was absolutely insane. If I had been white, I'm quite sure they would have done the work and done the work the way it should have been done. So it was just very disappointing to see that, especially given the mission. And the mission is to build a school to save our children. You know, we look at the suspension rates of black boys, the expulsion rates of black boys. We look at the learning disability, the ADHD, the conduct disorder, the emotional disturbance rates of black boys. We look at the rate at which black boys are arrested in school, receiving a all too early introduction into the juvenile detention process. You know, you look at the outcomes for our sons, it's not good. Only 1 out of every 4 black boys is graduating in this country nationally. It is an epidemic. And so I thought that when I reached out to these brothers, they would say, hey, we got to do this. Not only is he paying us, the purpose, the mission is something that we need. They couldn't care less. You know, they couldn't care less. It was all about the money. And then even when they got the money, they couldn't do the work right. But again, that's not every black contractor. We still have some other things that need to get done at the school. I'm still looking for black contractors. I'm looking for black roofers right now. I'm looking for black window repairers right now. So they have not, you know, influenced me to give up on black contractors, because that would be a contradiction of who I am and what I stand for. You know, we're going to keep on searching until we find the right ones. You know, it costs you money to do that. Obviously, we lost a lot of money dealing with these Negroes, but you know, we're going to keep on searching until we find the right mix, because we still have the Frederick Douglass High School that still has to be renovated. You know, but I'd rather focus on the positive instead of the negative. And
Yeah.
we're almost at the finish line, and the
Oh,
fact that we've had so many African people from around the world donate to this cause. You know, this was not an African American thing. I want to be very clear about that. African Americans definitely were one of the two largest donation groups, and we still have to do the math to see who actually gave the most. But our brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa gave a lot. Our brothers and sisters on the continent of Europe gave a lot. Our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean gave a lot. So it would be interesting to see who actually gave the most. But this was not an African American thing. This was a total Pan-African effort.
There's a lot of truth to what you were talking about as far as the overall outcomes for Black boys. I'm a school social worker in Atlanta, from Charleston, but I work in Atlanta as a school social worker. So very true. I'm curious to know, how is your school going to combat those issues that Black boys have to go through in the, you know, regular school system?
Well, the main problem that Black boys have is the white teachers in the classroom. That's the main issue. You know, curriculum can be better, but that's not why they're failing. More money could be spent on their education, but that's not why they're failing. Okay, they're failing because the person responsible for their education is not a natural stakeholder in their success. Most teachers in America are white, and they are white women, and they are hostile white women. I mean, there was a report that came out from the United States Department of Education just a few years ago that showed Black boys in kindergarten were being suspended and expelled from school at rates higher than white boys in high school. What can a Black boy at 6 years old do that would warrant a worse punishment than a white boy of a similar offense in high school? So clearly these white women are hostile. We as a people should have never sent our children into these desegregated schools without Black teachers to accompany them. When we go back to 54 and we look at the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision, one of the mistakes that we made as a community was when they desegregated the schools, they did not desegregate the teaching ranks. You understand, the Black teachers from the Black community did not accompany our children into those white schools. So our children walked into enemy territory without anyone who loved them to be there to protect them. And that was a big mistake we made. You never send your children into enemy territory without some of their own people to look out for them. And as a result of that, we saw our greatest drop in Black teachers within the profession from 1954 to 1974, because white schools would not hire them. They didn't even want the children. So they definitely didn't want the teachers. The issue is the white woman. But guess what? She's the most privileged person in this society. And whenever we have conversations about the failure of Black boys, mysteriously, she's always left off of the list of causes. She's never on the list. It's always income. It's gangster rap. It's incarcerated fathers. It's poverty. It's unwed mothers. It's poor educational finance. It's weak curriculum. It's old textbooks. It's never the white racist woman in front of the classroom. And so, you know, I don't care what you change in the schools. I don't care what you change. Until you get rid of her and give Black boys strong Black male teachers, the academic achievement rates will never go up.
Most certainly. And I will say, while you were saying all that, it made me think of a time when I was in school. And it's strange. It's crazy. I had a white guidance counselor, and this fella really came into the room. It was me and a couple other, you know, black fellas that were in the classroom. And he told us a statistic of saying, at the time, he said 1 in every 4 Black boys in the class, or whatever it was, would be going or be incarcerated. And I never thought, at the time, I didn't think nothing of it. But now, as I get older, I'm thinking, why would you feel the need to come in there and tell us a statistic such as 1 out of the 4, every 4 of us is going to end up being incarcerated, instead of you trying to, like you said moments ago, try to preach positivity and try to tell us different paths of different things to do instead of you telling us what's the worst case scenario where we're gonna end up at. Because you know, a lot of people don't realize that at a young age, a lot of stuff gets internalized. Like that moment, it's crazy that I even remember it, but the fact that I remember it just lets me know that it bothered me subconsciously. It might not have been on the surface, but it stuck with me because I still remember it to this day. It didn't make any sense to me, and I remember when he said it, and I just looked at him, and it just didn't process. But the older I get, it just makes more sense that he was out of line. He should have never said it. He should have just been more positive about everything. And most definitely, I will say that is one of the moments of my life that definitely drive me to do better. Because I'm not just a statistic. You're not going to say I'm going to possibly end up here. I said I don't want to hear that. I don't hear these numbers. You're not going to put me in a box.
So I definitely understand where both of y'all are coming from. I guess my mind is going to, well, what options do parents have right now? Because there aren't a lot of your schools that exist right now. And just like you said, the number of Black educators have decreased over time. And we have to send kids to school. So then what would be the other option other than, I guess, building them up in the home? But that can only do but so much.
See, the issue that we have as a people, whether we're dealing with education, whether we're dealing with economics, whether we're dealing with politics, we are allergic to building our own institutions. Black people want no responsibility whatsoever for the reconstruction of Black America. We will talk about reparations all day long because it requires somebody else to do something for us. The solution is we have to build our own schools. Black people better understand something and understand it real quick. America is through doing anything for Black folks. Although they never did, they at least gave the impression of doing something. Now they are blatantly and unapologetically making it clear, as you've seen with President Biden's behavior, as you've seen with President Trump's behavior, as you've seen with President Obama's behavior. America is through acting like it cares about Black people. And if we're going to save our children, we're going to have to build our own schools. I mean, we spend $30 billion on beauty products, more than any other group in the country. You know, we spend $2 billion on Air Jordans, $4 billion on liquor. McDonald's gets $1 billion from Black people every year. Children's cologne is about 20 million. We spend 800 million on chicken, turkey, beef, and pork every year as a people. We are literally making Koreans rich every day, building their institutions. We're making Chinese rich every day, building their institutions. We're making Latinos and Arabs and East Indians, Anglo-Saxons and Jews rich, building their institutions. Why is it so easy for us to donate to other people's empowerment, but we don't want to donate to our own? See, there's Band-Aids and then there's solutions. Mm-hmm. Anything that you do to try to fix education while it is controlled by white people is a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid. The solution is your own schools. People don't care about Black people, and they damn sure don't care about Black boys. Everybody knows this, especially us. But rather than come together and use our money to give our children the opportunity they deserve, we rather keep on buying Christmas gifts, keep on buying Easter gifts, keep on having 4th of July parties, keep on having New Year's Eve parties, keep on wasting our money on vacations and useless merchandise and things of that nature. One of the reasons people do not feel sympathy for American Africans, one of the reasons globally people do not feel sympathy for us is we have the money to fix our own problem. Now, there's still some things we have to fight. We still have to fight criminal justice because we're not allowed to have our own criminal justice system. So there are certain systems we have to fight. But when you look at education, this country gives everybody the right to build their own schools. You can build your own schools, and we will not do it because although people don't care about Black children, Black people don't care too much more about Black children either. I'm not speaking about our own children in our homes. I'm speaking collectively of the children in our communities. We don't care about them. And that's why these young Black men are in our city centers tearing them down. They're robbing our elders. They're disrespecting our mothers. They're killing each other. Why? Most of these crimes go out of economic desperation, and economic desperation that would not be there if Black people had their own schools training our young men in how to be plumbers and electricians and roofers and welders and auto mechanics and carpenters, the skills that pay the bills. If you want to stop violence in the Black community, it starts by preparing these young men in the skills that pay the bills. Black America wants none of the responsibility for solving its own problem.
One of the central contradictions of the Negro predicament is the fact that we don't want to take responsibility for our shortcomings, and we damn sure don't want to take responsibility for solving any of our major issues. We want the white man to do everything, and any oppressed people who wants their oppressor to play a leading role, not a supporting role, right, not a periphery role. We want the white man to play a leading role in every problem we got.